Good evening. Today we have a new student and the name of the student is Surajit Sarad. Is it your first class, Surajit? P.O. Anthony, your first class? P.O. and Surajit, is it your first class? Okay. Surajit says yes. P.O. also says, yeah, with me it's the first class. I'm sure about that. And you have attended previous classes with IMTS. Okay, that's great. In which subject are you doing doctorate? Ethics in customer service. That's an interesting topic. Okay, that's great. So you are a working professional? Insurance. Insurance, yes, this aspect is very important in insurance because insurance is a contract which is based on trust and faith. If people are not ethical, if they are not right with ethics, then definitely the contract will be, it can be a fraud. It can turn out to be a fraud. Yes. Okay, Rajiv is now coming. He is in. Ramesh Rahi. So you are a new student? Yes, Prabha. Good evening. How are you? Ramesh, good evening, Rajiv. I hope you are doing good. Ramesh, this is your first class, isn't it? Then who is this? Muhammad Shafan TV. TV, what does that mean, Muhammad? That's an interesting thing. Hello, how are you? At the end I can see TV. What does that stand for? Muhammad Shafan I'm talking to. Tazi Vitil. Okay, so that's the short form, family name. Alright. Okay. So, we all have been through some of the insurance classes. I'm good, Rezi. How are you? So, you all are back to work. It was a working day for you. Second day of your week, isn't it? Alright. For us, it was a holiday. First day. You have weekends on Thursday and Friday. Or is it Friday, Saturday? Okay, Friday and Saturday. At some places it's Thursday, Friday, I guess. Okay, you have just one day off. Alright. Yeah, so let us just start. Okay, Ramesh is also having just one day off. I hope most of you are working professionals. So off holds a lot of importance for you. A new student, Sunil Francis D. Elmi. I think he has done one class, if I am right. Okay, Sunil. Good evening. How are you? So we can just start. So today we'll be discussing about the basic principles of insurance. Okay, and we'll be talking about too busy. But you need to take out time for this also. This is also equally important. You will be if you will not attend classes regularly, Sunil, you will be at the receiving end. You will be like sufferer. So it's better you take out time for classes as well. Try and balance your things. Okay? Yes. So we are going to study about the principles of insurance. So first, let us just first revise what is insurance. What is insurance? Those who know the answer, please type it in the chat box. What is insurance? Asiya, Sahir, Surajit, Monachin, Sanobar, Nazda, Pio, Rezi, Rinin, Ramiz, Prabhavati, Raji, Muhammad, Praveen, Sunil. It's a kind of promise. Okay. So, what is the purpose of the promise to you? A type of guarantee to secure from any unavoidable thing. It is a form of risk management. That is the perfect definition that's given by Monachin. That's the perfect definition we can say. Monachin. Assurance of something. Coverage of uncertainty. Yes, that's also good. And protection against a possible eventuality. Surajit. And that's probably a negative eventuality. Managing the anticipated risk. Yes. So, insurance is basically a contract in which two parties are involved. One is the insurer and the other is insured. Insured is the person whose risk is covered and he is supposed to pay premium in consideration for the risk that is being covered. Consideration in this case is the premium, the amount which is paid by the insured. And insurer is the insurance party, the party which agrees to make good the loss. Okay? So there are certain principles on which the contract of insurance is based, and all the principles are applicable to all classes of insurance except one principle, that is principle of indemnity. Okay? Principle of indemnity says that the insurance company is going to make good your loss. Whatever loss you are going to suffer, the insurance company is going to make good that. It's going to compensate you for that. So, but in case of life insurance, principle of indemnity is not applicable because life is something which cannot be indemnified, which a dead person cannot be brought back to life. So that is beyond anybody's, that is beyond the scope of insurance company. So that is why principle of indemnity is not applicable to insurance. Yes, insurance is planning in advance. Planning in advance to safeguard yourself against certain mishappening in future. Okay. Let us discuss the basic principles of insurance one by one. So, first, we'll see the definition for insurance. It is a contract whereby in return for the payment of premium by the insured, the insurers pay the financial losses suffered by the insured as a result of the occurrence of unforeseen events. Okay. So this is a contract only to cover the financial losses. Just the financial aspect is covered. And it is against unforeseen events. Unforeseen events can be fire, loss due to fire, loss due to storm. What else could it be? Can anyone tell me? Theft? Yes. Accident, flood, pilferage. You know what is pilferage? Pilferage. Okay. Pilferage is like the kind of loss which occurs due to certain pest. Yes, accidents are also covered NASDA in insurance contract. Suppose you pile up a lot of stock of wheat or rice in the godown, in the warehouse. Then there are lots of rats there. Then what might happen? The rats might just open up the bats, gunny bats, and they might just destroy the goods kept in them, the products kept in them. So that is called pilferage. And sometimes, like there are certain items which like deteriorate on their own. With the passage of time, they deteriorate. Suppose you have to export mangoes from India to Dubai. So in that case, if it's a commodity of high risk, if you are not able to reach in time, if you do not make it in time, then all the mangoes or oranges, whatever, they are going to be rotten. So in that case, pilferage, loss due to pilferage is occurring. That is certain inevitable. It is natural. That is a loss which is natural. That is going to happen because of the nature of the good. So that is also covered in case of an insurance contract. Alright, everybody? Is that fine? Okay. So let's first, why do we need insurance? We need insurance because of the presence of risk in everything that we do. So it is used to describe all the accidental happenings which produce a monetary loss. For example, a factory catching fire or a ship sinking. All these conditions will ultimately result in loss, and that too a monetary loss. So to make good that loss, to make good that risk or the risk that is there, to cover it, an insurance contract is affected. So every insurance contract is based upon certain principles. So what are the basic principles of insurance contract? Let us see. Yes, gadgets are also insured, Prabha. It's very important nowadays. So the first is utmost good faith. Second is insurable interest. Third is indemnity, and it is further divided into subrogation and contribution and proximate cause. These are the basic principles of an insurance contract. Now we'll be discussing them in detail, and then we'll be seeing certain case studies also. So what does the principle of utmost good faith say? Utmost means the maximum possible, and good faith is trust. So insurance contracts are contracts which are based on maximum trust. It says that let the buyer beware. Like there are certain goods which we buy, so we are when the shopkeeper is selling those goods to us, he does not inform us about that particular risk associated with that good, because we already know that it is something that it is assumed that as a customer we need to know that. For example, if I talk about LPG cylinders, you understand LPG cylinders, the liquefied petroleum gas cylinders which we use in household for cooking. LPG cylinders. The risk associated with them is that if the gas is going to leak, if there is some some problem with the pipe or something, the gas may leak, and that leakage may cause fire. So that is something which every customer knows, and it is assumed by the seller that the customer is aware of this fact, and he is not going to mention it specially. Okay? So this is good faith. So in the insurance contract, this principle says that all the materialistic information or anything which affects the insurance contract must be known to the insurer. The insurance company must be made aware of any kind of material fact which will affect the contract by the person who is concluding the contract or who is taking the insurance policy, who is the insured. Okay? So declaration of all material information about the subject matter of insurance. This is very important. If you are going to hide any fact, then our insurance contract will not be a valid contract, and it cannot be enforced as per law. Okay? So can anybody give me some example of this utmost good faith? Anyone? Anyone has an example to share where you feel that principle has been violated, or like where we need to definitely disclose? Life insurance linen, household items. Okay. Non-declaration of existing issues. Yes. Suppose like we go and we take an insurance policy, and in the insurance policy we say the insurance policy is taken for a 40-year-old lady, and that lady is in the first stage of cancer. She is suffering from cancer. So in that case, she is suffering from cancer. So in that case, the insurance company needs to know all the related issues regarding that disease, and what is the status of it, how much are the chances of survival, how much is it. An insurance company also needs to know the family history. It's like the grandfather has diabetes, the son has diabetes, then the grandson is also expected to have diabetes. Person has suicide intention, went in car accident. Okay, so you are trying to say, Prabha, that the person has the intention of committing suicide, and he deliberately took an accident policy. That's what you are trying to say? Made an accident. Okay, like he committed suicide but made it appear like an accident. In that case, an inquiry will be done, and what is the proximate cause, means the immediate cause of the loss, immediate cause of the death, that will be identified. If the policy is for accident and the death is due to accident only, injury induced due to accident, then in that case insurance claim will be paid. But if the person was already dead and he just showed that an accident has taken place, then in that case his loss will not be made good. It means he will not be paid anything by the insurance company, because the cause of accident was not accident in that case. Cause of death was not accident, it was something else. Okay? That is another principle of insurance. So this is very important. Like suppose we have an insurance policy is taken for a 3-year-old child, and the child is actually an adopted child, and it is said the child is the policy is taken by the legal parents of the child, and it is already decided that after 5 years of his age he will be handed over to his to some of the family members, maybe to his uncle and aunt. So that is a material fact which is going to affect the insurance contract. So that fact should be disclosed by the legal parents of that child to the insurance company, that after 2 years the child will be handed over to uncle and aunt. So that's legal, that's something important, and that is going to affect the insurance contract. Okay, so utmost good faith principle should be followed strictly in this case. Alright, everybody, clear to everyone? Asiya, Seher, Surajit, Sanobar, Nazda, Priyo, Rezi, Rinin, Ramiz, Rajiv, Muhammad, Praveen, Sunil, Prabhavati, Kashan. Now, what is material information? It is something which enables the insurer to decide whether he will accept the risk, and if so, at what rate of premium and subject to what terms and conditions. Like age is a very important consideration. If we are taking a life insurance policy for a 20-year-old, then the premium will be low, because the chances of death occurring in near future are very less. But if the same person is addicted to some wrong habits, he is into taking drugs and all, then in that case the premium may be high because the risk to his life is more. Alright? So that is a material fact which we need to disclose to the insurance company, because that's going to affect the rate of premium. Now, how does the breach of utmost good faith arises? It arises in two ways. First is non-disclosure of material facts like oversight, prospered thought, it's not essential, etc. Means out of ignorance. Sometimes out of ignorance and sometimes also misinterpretation when it is done intentionally. Sometimes a misinterpretation is made deliberately. So that is again that's breach of duty of utmost good faith. Suppose there is an office and the office is not having a fire insurance system in its premises. It's not installed, and that fact has not been disclosed by the company to the insurance company. So in that case, the premium that will be charged from the company will be more. But that since that fact has not been disclosed, it is a misrepresentation. So this is breach of utmost good faith. Clear, everyone? Okay. So now next is insurable interest. Insurable interest means what is your insurable interest at the time of concluding the insurance policy and also at the time of maturity of the insurance policy. Let us see what does this principle say. It says the legal right enjoyed by the owner of a property to insure is called insurable interest. The insurance will become null and void without the insurable interest. Suppose this is a house. You can see in the picture this is a house, and this house has been insured by a party. And who is that party? That party is the tenant who are living in this house. So do they have an insurable interest in the property? Tenant is getting this house insured. So is he the legal owner of the house? Tenant. I said the word tenant. You understand tenant, everyone? One who takes house on rent. Tenant is the one who takes it, and landlord is the one who offers the house. So who has the insurable interest in this house? Is it with the tenant or with the landlord? Landlord, Praveen says. Yes, landlord. So landlord is the one who has the insurable interest, and he should actually get the insurance contract made. If the tenant is going to get it done, then it is not an appropriate contract. It cannot be legally enforced. So it is the legal right enjoyed by the owner of a property to insure. Suppose there lives a family in this house and they have a servant with them, and servant is almost like their family member, and he has been living with them since 20 years. And now if he affects the insurance contract, will that contract will be valid or it will be invalid? The insurance contract is affected by the servant of the family. Since they regard him as a family member, so the servant has got the insurance contract made. So do you think that his insurable interest exists in this case? Yeah, I'm waiting for the answer. No. Yes, there is no insurable interest of that servant because he is not legally entitled to this house. Okay, it is just not a valid contract. That was the second principle. Now the third is indemnity. Indemnity means to make good the loss. So the principle of indemnity states that under the policy of insurance, the insured has to be placed after the loss in the same financial position in which he was immediately before the loss. Means his loss has to be made good. Suppose this is a car and this is insured under the accident policy. Accident occurs, the car got damaged, and now what is the duty of the insurance company? They have to, yes please, in medical and life this is not possible. This principle is not applicable to life insurance because you cannot replace anybody's life. You can only pay in terms of money, not in terms of life. So principle of indemnity is not applicable there. So in this case, if the car is damaged, then the insurance company, what they can do, they can pay for the repairs. Like if the repair costs 50,000, they can get 50,000 from the insurance company, or what else, they can also replace the car. They can also provide another car of the same type. That is also indemnity. It depends upon the condition which has been agreed upon in the insurance contract. It can either be a monetary compensation or it can also be exactly the same thing. Like car can be replaced with car only. It depends upon the terms and conditions of the contract. Fine? Anyone having any doubt? Asiya, Seher, Surajit, Sanobar, Pio, Rezi, Rimin, Ramiz, Rajiv, Muhammad, Praveen, Ma'am, is it not possible to get insurance claim under the condition of natural calamities like cyclone Hudud today in Visakhapatnam? No, it's possible. It is possible. If you have taken the insurance policy for that, then it is possible. Okay? Surajit, that's possible. And suppose you have a life insurance policy, then definitely the claim will be paid because ultimately there is a loss of life. So whatever may be the cause of life, then it will be covered. But only under life insurance. Okay? Surajit, only life insurance claim is payable in this case. Claim is not payable under any other clause. Yes, there are policies which have this option of natural calamities also. There are policies for that. Like fire and marine are two different classes, and there are some other policies which cover the natural calamities also. But they are not very much popular in countries like India, if I say, because natural calamities are not very frequent here. Now, what is the applicability of this principle of indemnity? It is applicable when the losses can be measured in terms of money, and it is practicable to place the insured in the same financial position which he occupied before the loss. Okay? Suppose his goods worth 10,000 dinar has drowned. So in that case, that 10,000 dinar goods or a payment of 10,000 dinar can be made to the person, to the party. So in marine cargo, where value-added policies are issued, there is only commercial indemnity. The value declared for insurance is accepted at the time of loss. Means, like this says marine cargo, like suppose I concluded the insurance contract 6 months before, and at that time the goods were worth 20,000. And now when the loss has occurred, I have suffered a loss of goods worth 22,000. But the insurance company is just going to pay that 20,000. because that is the amount which is agreed in the insurance contract. Market value of the goods is not going to be considered. Okay? Only the agreed value will be paid. But there are certain contracts in which market value is also considered. But like that is a special clause. That is a contract which has got a special clause in it. In case of an accident policy, this clause may be applicable. The market value of the car that has been damaged, that can be paid. Okay? But a special clause is added for that purpose. Now, what are the limitations of an insurance liability? If the sum insured is less than the indemnity, only the sum insured is payable. Yes. Property insurance, what happens in this is condition of average. If there is underinsurance, only proportionate value is payable. Sometimes, what do people do? They take a policy of less than what is the actual value of good. So in that case, condition of average is applicable. Suppose you have goods worth 80,000 and you are taking the insurance policy only for 50,000. I'll just type it over here so that everyone can follow. The value of goods is 80,000. The policy is for 50,000. You have taken a policy for 50,000. And the loss which has occurred is of 56,000. So in this case, the insurance company is going to pay 50,000 only. This 6,000 loss will not be made good by it. Okay? And if it's a proportionate, if it's a policy of proportionate clause, then in that case, this 50,000 will be calculated on the basis of, the loss will be calculated on the basis of 50,000 only, not on the basis of 80,000. The value of the goods will not be considered. Only the policy amount will be considered. And only the exceptions for indemnity is personal accident. The next is subrogation. Subrogation says it means to transfer the rights and remedies from the insured to the insurer who has indemnified the insured in respect of the loss. Like what happens sometimes is this is very much applicable in case of fire and marine insurance, and even in accident cases. The insurance company pays the claim to the party. Then after paying the claim, if like there is a car that has been damaged in accident and the insurance company has paid the claim to the party, then what the insurance company can do is it can sell off that car and get the salvage value out of that car, and it will keep that salvage value with itself. It is not going to pay it to the insured. Okay. So all the rights and remedies which were with the insured will be transferred to the insurance company once the insurance amount is paid. Did you all get this? Sahar says yes, Rajiv says yes. Ramesh did not get it. Okay. Okay, I'll just tell you, Surajit, what is subrogation. Suppose there is a ship that is on the sea. Okay. It's going on the sea and it is boarded, it is loaded with goods. Goods are loaded in it. Alright, Surajit and Ramesh. So, goods are loaded in the ship. And now what happens is, suppose there is thunderstorm in the water, and there is storm, and due to which the ship sinks. Ship will sink. And some portion of the goods which were there in the ship may be, like, they may be in the condition that they can be used further, they can be sold further by the owner. They are not so damaged. And in that case, who is going to sell the goods and raise the amount? That goods will be sold by the insurance company, not by the owner of the goods. His claim has been met by the insurance company, his claim has been given to him, and now his part is over. Those goods will be taken over by the insurance company, they will sell it in the market and they will get benefit out of it. They will get the profit out of them. Okay? That is subrogation. Surajit, did you get it? I have one question. If I have 3 or 4 insurances made with different companies, then can finally claim the amount from all of them? Yes, you can claim the amount from all of them, Sunil, but your claim will be met in a proportion. Okay? It will be met in a proportionate amount. It is not so that you can get equal amount from all the insurance companies. You cannot make profit out of an insurance contract. That is also one of the principles that we will be discussing. Okay? Now there is one query from somebody. Let me see what is that. Here, this is the spelling of salvage. Okay, Sunil, your point is clear now? So, Surajit, is this fine now? Did you understand what is subrogation? In case of life insurance, you will be paid the agreed amount, Sunil. Okay? You will be paid the agreed amount. Yeah, from all the companies you will get the amount for which you have been paying the premium through your lifetime. Ramesh, is it clear? Subrogation. Now this is contribution. This is what you were talking about, Sunil. Contribution, principle of contribution. What does it say? The right of insurers who have paid a loss under a policy to recover a proportionate amount from other insurers who are liable for the same loss. Suppose this is a man who has taken insurance from these 3 companies. One is the New India Assurance, Bajaj Allianz and Reliance General Insurance. Suppose his full claim is met by this company, New India Assurance Company. Then this New India Assurance Company has the right to recover proportionate amount from Bajaj Allianz and Reliance Company. Okay? This is principle of contribution. Everyone got this one? Okay, now, yeah, you cannot get from all. Or you cannot get full amount from all 3, except in case of life insurance. But in that case, your premium will also be high, proportionately high. Now the last principle is principle of proximate cause. Principle of proximate cause says that we need to examine the actual cause of loss, and if that cause is covered under the insurance, then only our claim will be met. Okay? Can you all read it? The active efficient cause that sets in motion a train of events which brings about a result without intervention of any force started and working actively from a new independent source. So this is very technical. This is written in technical language, but actually it is very simple. It just means that the insurance company will examine what is the actual cause of loss. Then only they are going to pay the insurance claim. Now there is one case which we can see to understand this one better. Suppose I gave you one example. There is a warehouse, and in the warehouse there are rubber sheets kept in the warehouse. and suddenly and the owner is having a fire insurance policy. So supposedly the fire breaks out due to short circuit in the warehouse. Then what happens is, due to due to the fire in the warehouse, due to short circuit, lots of sheets of rubber get damaged, and there are some sheets which are damaged not because of the fire, they are damaged because of the smoke which is coming out. Okay, the smoke has destroyed those sheets. They may be very sensitive. So in that case, the insurance company is going to pay the compensation for those rubber sheets which are destroyed by fire. But those which have been destroyed by smoke, they will not be covered under the insurance claim. Okay? Did you get the example? Rajiv is the only one who got it. Others are busy reading this one. I am not reading from here. I am giving another example. This is not what we are talking about. Now we can read this. A man is traveling in a crowded train, falls down and he gets injured badly. Because of his hurt and bleeding, he becomes unconscious and lying by the side of the track. Someone finds him, takes him home. He develops fever which ultimately leads to tetanus and is hospitalized. He is treated in the hospital for 10 days and finally he dies. His wife, realizing he has a personal accident policy, makes a claim with the insurance company. Now, is this claim payable? Is the claim payable in this case? Rajiv says no. But many are saying yes. Okay. Rajiv is the one who said no. So I am going to ask Rajiv. Rajiv, why no? Why do you think he will not be paid? Rinan also says no. Rajiv and Rinan, why do you think he will not be paid the insurance claim? He shouldn't be paid. Because it was an accident, PV says that. He has not taken care after the accident. Okay? It was an accident. Personal accident policy. Rajiv and Rinan have given the correct answer. Claim will not be paid in this case. Why? Because he has a personal accident policy and he died, but his death was not because of the accident. His death was because of the fever which he developed, and it was not because of the accident. He developed fever which led to his death. Okay? So that is why his claim will not be covered under the personal accident policy. He did not die because of the accident. He died because of the fever and other complications which developed later on. So his immediate cause of death was not the accident. So his claim will not be payable. Okay? Clear, everyone? Yes, he will not be paid. He will not be paid under the accident policy. Yes, he will be paid under life insurance, Sunil. That is what I wanted to just tell you. He will be paid under life insurance if he is having a life insurance policy. Now, let us go to a Word file. Can everyone read it? Read properly. I'm trying to adjust the screen. Give me a minute. Yes, now it's fine. Let us just see some examples. Okay. And what is the technical name for this principle? Principle of utmost good faith. The technical name is Ubermae Fide. Okay. It's Ubermae Fide. That means utmost good faith. And there is one more one more principle that has been missed out there. It is principle of loss minimization. What does this principle say? It says that in the event of loss, every effort should be taken by the insured to minimize the loss. And it is not that he should just think he has an insurance policy, so he should not take any interest to minimize the loss. Every effort should be taken to minimize the loss. Okay. So let us first see what does this principle say. It says both the parties, that is the insured and the insurer, should have a good faith towards each other. They must provide the insured complete, correct and clear information. An insurer must provide the insured complete, clear-cut information regarding the terms and conditions of the contract. And it is applicable to all contracts, life, fire and marine. Okay, simple. So this is just an explanation of the same. Now, principle of insurable interest. This says the insured must have insurable interest in the subject matter of insurance. In life insurance, it refers to the life insured. In marine insurance, it is enough if the subject, in this case, in life insurance, it refers to the life insured. It means like if the policy is taken by Mr. X, then Mrs. X is having insurable interest in the life of Mr. X. In case Mr. X dies, then Mrs. X is going to get the compensation because she has an insurable interest in the life of her husband. And also the children are covered under this. Immediate relative, okay, they are going to get the claim under insurable interest in life insurance. And in marine insurance, it is enough if the insurable interest exists only at the time of occurrence of the loss. Yeah, when the loss has occurred, at that point of time, there should be existence of insurable interest. It is not necessary that insurable interest should exist at the time of affecting the contract. Why is it so? Suppose the goods are going from India to Dubai. They are going from India to Abu Dhabi. So, in India, the seller is going to, he is the one who is going to first affect the insurance for the goods. So, at that point of time, he is having his insurable interest in the goods. Once goods are set into the sea, they are on the ship. Then whose insurance interest arises? Then it is the insurance interest of the buyer at Abu Dhabi. He has to get the insurance done. And in case of any loss in the sea, Rezi is going 10 minutes early because he is having an emergency. Okay, Rezi? But please give your feedback at the end of the class. Okay? You will be getting the feedback form. Do fill it, Rezi. And please, I think in the last class also you went a little early. Was it you? Or it was someone else? It was not you? It was someone else. Because of the Bakrid celebration. One student went early. I don't remember his name. Yes, Sunil, it depends upon the terms and conditions. But in case of marine insurance, the rule is, okay, you have a clinical appointment, that's fine. You can leave. In case of insurable interest, in case of marine insurance, the insurable interest should exist at the time of loss. That is very important. And in fire, it must exist at both the times, once the policy is taken and once the loss occurs. Okay. So now there is one example. The owner of a taxi cab has insurable interest in the taxi cab because he is getting income from it. But if he sells it, he will not have an insurable interest left in that taxi cab. Okay? Now the next one, principle of indemnity. So indemnity means a guarantee or assurance to put the insured in the same position in which he was immediately prior to the happening of the uncertain event. So it is applicable to fire, marine and other general insurance. Under this, the insurer agrees to compensate the insured for the actual loss suffered. Rest of the things you can read later on. It's just an explanation of that. In life insurance, this is not applicable. Now, principle of contribution. This is corollary to the principle of indemnity. It is opposite to that, and it is applicable to all contracts. Under this principle, the insured can claim the compensation only to the extent of actual loss, either from one insurer or all the insurers. Okay? Like you can see, there is one example. Mr. John insures his property worth $1 lakh with two insurers, AIG and for 90,000 with MetLife. Sorry, his goods were worth 1 lakh. He took two insurance policies, one with AIG for 90,000 and one with MetLife for 60,000. So John's actual property destroyed is worth 60,000. So then Mr. John can claim the full loss of 60,000 either from AIG or MetLife, or he can claim 36,000 from AIG and 24,000 from MetLife. So this 36,000 and 24,000 will be calculated by the insurance company. It will be calculated by the actuary. Actuary is the officer who does the assessment for the insurance company. So actuary will assess how much has to be paid by which company, depending upon the value of the insurance policy taken. Okay? And in case he takes full amount from compensation from one, he cannot claim the compensation from another insurance to make a profit, because insurance contracts are not meant to make profits. Then next is principle of subrogation. It says, as per this principle, after the insured is compensated for the loss due to damage to property, then the right of ownership of such property passes on to the insurer. Now there is one example, let's read it. It says, Mr. John, how do they know each other companies when it comes to claim? Praveen, in this case, like initially only when the contract is being made, then only this part has to be disclosed. If like, again, it's on the basis of principle of utmost good faith, obermai fide. If this fact is not disclosed, then in the case of happening of the event, the contract will be declared void and no compensation will be paid to the person. Okay? And there are legal measures to find it out. There are legal means to find. It's not so that anyone can hide such a thing. Yes, it applies for life insurance as well. But in life, yes, it is an offense. It's an offense, and for this, the contract will stand void. It will not be applicable. So whatever premium has been paid, that will be all seized. So that's not acceptable. Now you can see, Mr. John insures his house for $1 million. The house is totally destroyed by the negligence of his neighbor, Mr. Tom. The insurance company shall settle the claim of Mr. John for $1 million. At the same time, it can file a lawsuit against Mr. Tom for $1.2 million. What is the benefits of making in two companies? Actually, sometimes what happens is the value of insurance is too much. It is so in that case, the company themselves decide to appoint another company also to make good the loss. They decide to do it jointly. Then the value of insurance property is too high in that case. Okay. So you can see this one. So what the insurance company will first pay 1 million to Mr. John, and then they are going to file a case against Mr. Tom for 1.2 million, the market value of the house. If insurance company wins the case and collects 1.2 million, then the insurance company will retain 1 million, which it has paid to Mr. John, plus other expenses such as court fees, and the balance amount, if any, will be given to Mr. John. Alright? This is a very good example to explain the principle of subrogation. Is it clear to everybody? Ramesh, now is it clear? Principle of subrogation with that example. Now, principle of loss of minimization. This says, under the principle, it is the duty of the insured to take all possible steps to minimize the loss to the insured property on the happening of the uncertain event. Example is, assume Mr. John's house is set on fire due to an electric short circuit. In this tragic scenario, Mr. John must try his level best to stop the fire by all possible means, like first calling nearest fire department office, asking neighbors for emergency. He must not remain inactive and watch his house burning, hoping, why should I worry? I have insured my house. This should not be the approach. Every possible step to minimize the loss should be taken. Okay? And you know, in the insurance inquiry, everything comes very clearly. So if anybody tries to act smart, the insurance company are much more smarter than them. So they can easily find out who has done what wrong. Then the last one, principle of causa proxima. It means the loss of the insured property can be caused by more than one. The property may be insured against some causes and not against all causes. So in such a case, the proximate cause or the nearest cause of loss is to be found out. If the proximate cause is the one which is insured against the insurance company, which is insured, then the insurance company is bound to pay the compensation. Now, there's one example for that. It says, a cargo ship base was punctured due to rats, and to so sea water entered and cargo was damaged. Now here there are two causes for the damage. The cargo ship getting punctured because of rats, and the sea water entering the ship through puncture. So the risk of sea water is insured, but the first cause is not. The nearest cause of damage is sea water, which is insured, and therefore the insurer must pay the compensation. Okay? Since the cause is sea water destroying the goods, so the compensation will be made. If rats would have eaten the goods, then compensation would not have been made. Alright? So now the class is about to be over. I hope you all enjoyed the class, and please give your feedback at the end of the class. You'll get the feedback form. Do positively fill it. Yes, you will get these slides to you. You will get it through IIMTS people. Okay? I'll be sending to them and they'll be sending to you directly. Alright. So everybody, thanks for your time, and make sure you are online next time for the class on time. So do take good care of yourself and enjoy your week. Please give your feedback at the end of the class. Fill the feedback form. You all will be getting it. Make sure that you are filling it. Okay? Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.